Thank you. God bless you. Please, 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 please. I first want to thank all the incredible speakers today. Truly, it's so inspirational to see the principle taught by such amazing pastors, men and women of God. Let's give them all a great round of applause, everybody. Give it up for our amazing pastors today. Also heavy in everybody's heart is the tragedy in Connecticut, so we want to also extend our prayers and also our concern for those families and those children. You know, we have to, I saw one pastor write a tweet, and it said, we have to keep the words evil and demonic in our vocabulary, because this is evil. And so remembering the children, also remembering this kind of act is unforgivable. And really, we extend our hearts to those families. You know, today I want to share with you something, if I can get a little space on this thing. You know, for me, I've always had, I've had many, questions. And also growing up in this movement, also following true parents, and from when I was young, just born into the movement, etc. Really hearing so many things about our movement. Hearing how we would, move the world, and how we would transcend all boundaries of religion and race and nation, language, etc. But those things, unfortunately, I just viewing and watching, I never saw them come to pass, despite the hard work and efforts and toil of so many brothers and sisters. You know, when True Father passed away, I think this was one of the probably most difficult things for our movement, because we all saw him. He was always so healthy. He was always so vibrant. He was always so strong. He was 93 and he could still whoop you, you know, and he could still move across a room really quick and get you. You know, he was so filled with vigor and so much love. And I think for us, it was just one of the most crushing things. I think a lot of us are honestly still grieving because of True Father ascending. And honestly, I've spent the last 2 years of my life just chasing Father around every day. We were wherever he would be. If he was on the boat, we'd run on the boat. And I hate being on the boat. I hate fishing. It's probably out of all the hobbies, fishing is not on my list. Especially on the oceans, you know, with the waves that he would challenge, or in America, or wherever he would be, we would have to be with him. And I think probably that was probably one of the most challenging times of my life. But also, when I reflect on it, of course, one of the greatest blessings that I was able to partake in. One of the things that always, I think really saddened my heart was after Father ascended, he didn't visit me. You know, he didn't come in dreams, or he didn't come in visions, or, you know, nothing, just silent. I remember when my brother Youngjung passed. I mean, Youngjung was, you know, I saw him in dreams, and, you know, and also all such things. I had experience with Youngjung, holding my hand and things like that. But here I am with True Father. I've been with him for the last 2 years. He's just the center of my entire existence. You know, I'm supposed to be the head of the movement, but I'm really chasing him around every day. You know, and he's not coming back. He's not visiting me. So I was really crushed. You know, I thought maybe if I change my hairstyle, he'll come. You know, because it was getting kind of long and luscious, and I said, you know, I got to shave it off again, how I like it, you know, nice and bald. But you know, I think many people say I look like a Zen monk, and Zen monks are known to shock people. So actually today, I hope I can shock you a little bit today. But But True Father finally visited me. He finally came on December 5th in the morning. And so that for me was huge, and it was so meaningful. It was probably the clearest he's ever come. December 5th is the day actually the ACLC, the executive committee, came and visited us at East Garden. And so it was in preparation for that, I believe. The 13,000, I think, was weighing on Father's heart. And he came in a vision, very strong. The scenario was that there was some kind of blessing. And Father was very angry. He was very angry. He was filled with holy wrath. He was actually pummeling, beating people, like MMA, ground and pound style, really pummeling people in this room. And I remember just being filled with so much fear and dread. I was looking around and saying, oh my God, what is happening? I was trying to, find out what exactly the situation is. And, Father, as he's doing this, I see him, and he comes walking towards me, and his eyes lock onto my eyes. And I'm thinking, oh my God, now I'm dead. Now it's my turn to get a big whooping. Comes out again, and I hear him coming from the back room, so I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna feel a big slap on the back of my head real soon, And he just walks by, and he says, absolute sex. He says, 절대성 in Korean. It's 절대성. Now, we usually translate it as absolute sex, but actually 절대 means a whole. It has a very deep meaning. It could mean absolute. That's one part of its meaning. It also, in that context, means eternal and loyal and faithful. It has all this richness inside that one word, 절대. It means also, in that context, it could also mean like glorious. It can mean unchanging. It can mean forever. These kind of eternal, these kind of things are all incorporated into 절대 in that context. So he was so clear. He just said 절대성, so clear. And so that day, I woke my wife up and I told her the dream, and so I wouldn't forget. And that day, we met with two teams. We met with some young people, and then we met with ACLC. And I got a great question when we were discussing with some young people. I got a great question from this sister. She said she had saw one of my sermons from a couple years back when I was ministering at Chungpa Church with the Two Rivers Choir, etc. And she said, in one of your sermons, you said that, True Father comes and completes all the traditions. For Judeo-Christianity, he is in the position of the Messiah. For Buddhism, he is a position of Maitreya, Buddha. And for Islam, the Mahdi. And for Hinduism, the Kalki. And for Confucianism, the true righteous man. And she said, what about for people who don't believe in religion? What about people like that? In the principle, who we call conscientious people of the age, that are prepared by God, maybe seeking God through science or knowledge, etc. And then it's such a difficult question. I don't know, that is such an enormously difficult question. Because for myself, if you know anything about Cheonbokgung in Korea, where we're pastoring at Cheonbokgung, we put up a beautiful, statue of Jesus and the Buddha and Confucius and Muhammad, in the form of the Quran, all embracing like this and facing, the city. And this is really, I was very proud of that, because of somebody who studied so many religions. Then that was something of great pride to me. But honestly speaking, every day when I saw those statues, I was filled with inspiration on the one hand, but on the other hand, I was very depressed looking at that. Because knowing these theologies, there are just some elements of these theologies, whether it's Christology or metaphysics, they are irreconcilable. It is almost impossible to reconcile these through even theological discussion. And so I would always be depressed. Looking at them, I would always be depressed, but also inspired. And so when this sister asked me this question, all these things are flowing through my mind. And I just blurt out, absolute sex, 절대성. And she's like, what? And actually, if you think about it, this is what I said to her. I said, if you think about it, everybody is actually thinking about sex. Nobody's talking about it, but everybody's thinking about sex. Buddhist monks are thinking about sex. Priests are thinking about sex. Imams, beyond religion, beyond race, language, beyond age groups or racial boundaries. Actually, everybody is thinking about sex. It's so omnipresent, it's so omnipotent, it's everywhere you walk, everywhere you go, every time you turn on a computer, every time you turn on TV, all we see is sex. And so, I'm sitting here talking to this sister and saying to her, this is already what everybody is thinking about. But there's it's like religions are silent on this central issue. Silent. In the Buddhist monastic code, in the Vinaya Pitaka, which is a monastic code of monks, there are many, 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 many regulations on sex. Specific. Like a monk must not, place his penis between two heart surfaces, or a monk must not place his penis there are these codes within the monastic law, because actually people are thinking about it, or if have not done it, those kind of things. But we don't want to talk about it. We never want to talk about it. Religions have been silent on this issue. And so when I was thinking about talking about that conversation, I was thinking, what is actually the core of the principle? What is actually the core of true parents' teaching? I mean, we say it's true love, or we say it's marriage, or the blessing, or we say it's give and receive action, or the purpose of creation, or that if true Father can discover the origin of sin, or that he can explain the providential history of the Bible. But really, what are we talking about? Really, when we get into it, what is the principle all about? The principle is all about sex. That's what the principle is about. The purpose of creation is God in absolute sex between a true husband and a true wife, experiencing love and life, and also spreading lineage throughout that family. What I call good sex, right? And then the fall of man is bad sex. It's all screwed up, screwing that whole process up. The process of restoration, the rest of the entire principle is about restoring good sex. Actually, the whole principle, the entire Father's teaching, whether you talk about true love or husband and wife relationship or living for the sake of other, or whether all these wonderful things that exist within his teaching, when you get down to the core of what it is he's actually teaching about, when we get through all the shyness and the bashfulness and the red cheeks and everything, he's actually talking about sex. He's talking about good sex. Now, this for me, I think clarified so much in my own mind, because what I realized is that we tried to encapsulate Father's teaching. What is it? It's living for the sake of others, or it's inherit the true love of God. And we tried to, how can we explain true parents' teaching in a short way? But actually, true parents' teaching, again, falls just on this fundamental topic, this fundamental theme that actually transcends every single demographic, age group, every boundary. Everybody's actually saturated, and brain is filled with sex. Unfortunately, in this world, it is bad sex which saturates our mind, and the people who are most vocal about sex are promoting not traditional marriages or not long-lasting relationships like that, but what Father would call the free love, or homosexual type of sex, or but very vocal about this, so that we can't not hear it. Right? So where we go in society, wherever we go, even in our schools, teaching middle school kids about sex and education, about, penis and vagina, and also, putting condoms on bananas. This is a reality of our kids that have to grow up in this world. But religious people don't want to talk about it because it's unholy, because we had to be celibate, and we're not supposed to be talking about these issues. It's not holy. See, this is why Father is so radically different. When I was with him every day, I would get a lecture on absolute sex. He would talk about it all the time. He would talk about it in the morning. We'd talk about sex. In the lunchtime, he'd talk about sex. At dinner time, he's talking about sex. Before he goes to bed, he's talking about sex. In the morning, when we wake up, he's talking about sex. Every time, above 20 minutes long, Father is talking about sex. Concave, convex, penis, vagina. Every day. It was a reality every day. Father was talking about this all the time. And yet all of us would hear this and we would be shy. We'd think, what the heck is Reverend Moon talking about? Why is Father talking like that? I remember he had world presidents. We had the president of Samoa, I believe, or one of the presidents of Oceania, in Hundoke, and Father was going into graphic detail about sex. And he's sitting there thinking, what is going on? The translators didn't want to translate Father's words. So why is he talking so much about sex? And we are closing our ears. We don't want to hear about it. We're embarrassed about it. If you think about it, the only voice that's out there proclaiming and celebrating sex is, as Father would always say, is Satan, who has dominated the world, who has controlled the minds and hearts of all by infusing it every day, 24 hours a day, every time you turn on the TV and the computer and the radio and the whatever, saturated by bad sex. So I was a little shocked, to discover, hey, my God, Father, the core of all your teachings is actually, you're talking about sex. I didn't know it was, even though you were beating it into our heads every day for the last 2 years, hundreds and hundreds of days, we still it didn't come clearly in our mind. And so I took a look at some of Father's words. I just looked it up in Cheonseongeong just to see. And I got this huge list of Father talking about absolute sex. And absolute sex being a very broad and beautiful meaning with sex. I think one of the things as a young person going with this movement, all we hear is about the fall. We hear about bad sex and evil sex and fallen sex. It's terrible, it's horrible, it's destroyed everything, it's created Satan's lineage throughout the world, and you have to, and it's evil, it's so evil. And then once we're blessed, it's okay, bye-bye, you can have lots of children. All we heard is that it was evil, it was terrible, it's demeaning, it's degrading, it's wicked. That's all we heard. Where is the movement where we are also hearing about the glory, the joy, the pleasure, the enjoyment, where God is indwelling within sex? See, we don't want to talk about it. We all think about it. We don't want to talk about it. Me too. I'm more like a Buddhist monk. My God, I don't want to talk about it all the time. But my God, Father was so clear in this vision. He was so clear. This is the center of it all. So let's look at some of his words, just in case some of you don't believe me. Let's look at some of his words. This is in 96 in D.C. This was In Search of the Origin of the Universe. Let's read it together. Then what did God, this is where we had so many dignitaries. We had high-level VIPs there, and we had this beautiful banquet, and it's very, classy, and here Father goes. Okay, what's he going to talk about? Let's read.